Yo, I'm Ethan. Let's talk about Parasite. Saw it last week. Pretty good. See ya. No, I'm kidding. So Parasite is a movie best left undescribed. I know that's a really strange way to start out a review, but the director himself said that the best way to view it is to go in not knowing anything. I'm going to avoid the synopsis that I typically do in these reviews, and I'm just going to talk about what Parasite did well and what it didn't, using rather vague terms. So if you don't know, Parasite kind of came out of the blue for American audiences anyway. As a matter of fact, I had not heard of it until the Oscars, and then it won Best Picture, so I'm like, well, I guess I gotta see it. And then it won a whole bunch of other awards along with it. Finally got around to seeing it, and yeah, I'd say it deserves those awards. There are actually a lot of people that think that Parasite shouldn't have won the Best Picture just because it's not a foreign film, because people realize, or apparently don't realize, that other people aside from Hollywood can make movies, and it's a celebration of Best Picture, not Best Hollywood Picture, although that's probably what Hollywood wants it to be. Anyway, it's just a very ignorant opinion to say that this shouldn't have won just because it's a foreign film. There are also a lot of criticisms based on the fact that it has subtitles. So this is a very adult-centric movie. There's some violence. Well, there's a good amount of violence, good amount of language and drinking. Very sophisticated premise, maybe, is the right word. Yeah. I would say it does take a bit of more critical thinking to really understand and enjoy the film. Albeit that's not saying that it's like confusing, or not saying that you're dumb if you don't understand it. I'm just saying this isn't like your typical Marvel film where you just go watch and have fun. This is it's a thinking man's film. Where was it? What was I on? What was I saying about? What was I talking about? Subtitles. That's what it was. I genuinely spent like a good minute trying to remember what I was talking about. So, if you're the type of person to complain about subtitles, I think this movie is going to fly way over your head, because if you can't read subtitles and focus on what's going on the screen at the same time, there's probably a bigger problem afoot than what's wrong with the movie. So, what does the movie do well? It sets up a really intriguing story. I'm kind of dodging landmines with my words here because I don't want to go spoiling anything. But at its core, it's about a poor family who integrates with a richer family. And events occur. I mean, it's incredibly hard not to give this movie away because there are so many twists and turns that happen throughout. It kind of left me on the edge of my seat. It was listed as a thriller, but I wasn't really sure why it's a thriller until, this happens or that happens, and then it clicks. Other times I felt like the movie was going nowhere. These slower portions where not much was happening seemed to be empty filler at the time, but as it goes on, you realize that things that happened earlier really do have a bigger impact on what happens in the later acts of the film. Putting aside all these vague words in the synopsis, I want to move on to the acting. It was done well, with the exception of the rich mother. She tended to overact a lot of her scenes, and it was a bit noticeable. But otherwise, all the characters were really good. They felt down to earth and realistic, and I think that's a good description of a majority of the movie. Again, I'm not going to go too in depth because the best way to see it is to not know anything. This is kind of a really lackluster review if I can't talk about it, but you'll understand if you watch it. It's like a 9 out of 10 in my book, and I think you should just give it a shot completely blind. I want to go get one of those clip-on microphones you put on your shirt, but I really don't know how those work. I think I'd have to wire it over up to my phone, which I use to record. Also would want to get a better camera, but I don't know, I just don't like spending a lot of money at once. Yeah, that's about the gist review. Parasite, 9 out of 10. Really good film. Deserves all the awards it gets. Taken a point off for just how much enjoyment I got. There weren't necessarily many flaws, but there were a few scenes where I did get bored. I mean, I mentioned that those bored scenes were good in building tension and adding to extra scenes, but that doesn't change to the fact that I was bored for a good, 20 minutes, half hour of the film. So, yeah, that's Parasite. See ya.